Media Network proudly presents It's All Love, Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Mountain Time, 6 p.m. Eastern, with Laura Mock, Maria Hartman, Wendy Ann, and Lara Brzezinski. It's All Love, a space where we open into the heart, tap into the soul's deep wisdom, and enter into the energy of love, truth, presence, and joy. It's All Love, Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Mountain Time, 6 p.m. Eastern. New Thought Media Network proudly presents.
So sorry, everybody.
Good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to It's All Love, a sacred community where we open our hearts and align to the vibration of love. And we invite you to join us in this. I'm Lara Brzezinski, coming to you from Arvada, Colorado. And joining me are Laura and Wendy, coming to you from North Carolina. And we're here to create connection, community, and aligning to the frequency of love, which can not only heal, but create an expansiveness of consciousness and creativity. And so as we step into this together, we invite you into this container, this community, this frequency of love, presence, truth, and joy. And at the beginning of each of our conversations, we'll do a little guided meditation to help us go within and tap into our heart center and create this energy of love and presence and being connected and fully present. And we know that magic always happens when we are our authentic selves, tapping into our soul's wisdom. And so when we come out of our meditation, we just allow this inner wisdom to guide our conversation. And again, we invite you into this practice with us. And Laura is going to lead us today. So Laura, take us away.
Thank you. All right, so let's just take a few moments to center in wherever we are. And the practice and the power of going within, sometimes silent and sometimes guided, is to become the capital P presence of, again, like Laura said, tuning into your soul's wisdom, your truth, and the love that's in your heart. My mother often says that that knowledge comes from the head and wisdom comes from the heart. And so we're going to allow this to be a beautiful tool. But every meditation we do is coming from something in our heart, and we are intending to connect to yours. So just allowing yourself to be in a centered place wherever you are, even if you're not feeling centered, we invite you to join in this energy field that we all have created in love. And just, if you feel more comfortable with your eyes closed, and again, imagining, and some of you may want to put your hand on your heart, and imagining as you put your hand on your heart, you can even begin to feel or imagine, using your imagination, which is such a beautiful gift that we all have, that is divine. Allowing with your imagination to feel or see or sense this light, this color, this vibration that dwells within your heart. And even if you're not in the place where you can feel, see it, I'm going to ask that you trust that it's there. And when you are able to feel it, it will be in the most perfect time. But for now, wherever you are, hand on heart, beginning to see, feel, and sense, or allow yourself to know it's there, a beautiful light of love. And to allow the physical body to connect to the emotional and metaphysical body, I invite you to then, as you're here with your heart, You may even physically do this with your hand or just with your mind's eye. Allow this light that is coming from within you. You can even take your hand and even feel it expanding. Like it's like your hand is magnetized to your heart and this energy is being pulled and pulled out around your body. And you may even feel yourself putting it around yourself. But allowing this light of who you are to create a cocoon around you. And the external world is here, but in this cocoon, this is yours. This is your space. This is where you are right now. You are seen, loved, valued. It's all within your cocoon. And as we begin the process of connecting to you and what is in the highest good for today, divine truth and love of today, allowing yourself to see and experience all of this from this beautiful, loving light cocoon. Allowing it to nurture you. And as we continue with our conversation, I think this will come back around. We may even have a closing meditation today. We will see. But this may come back around to serving the conversation that we have. But at any time, at any place, even if you're using your mind's eye, your imagination, beginning to remember, if you can think it, you can feel it, you can create it, beginning to go to that heart and allowing this light from inside of you to be pulled and like a womb circling you. And anywhere you are at any point, you can close your eyes, open your eyes even, but take a breath and feel you wrapped in this loving light. And so as we're in our cocoons, where you can clearly see out, and you are lovingly protected within, your heart is honored. I invite you to come back into this space. And let's talk about our cocoons a little bit more. With deep love and gratitude. That's what it is. Hello, hello, ladies, gentlemen, everyone, individuals, all people. Glad you're here. So interesting. I didn't know what was going to happen. Done that one before. Oh, Laura will be back, I am sure. She's maybe having some camera issues. So maybe her cocoon was so strong. Laura's cocoon was so strong that she's in it right now for a moment and she'll be back.
That's right. She's a cocoon. I love that meditation to kind of create space around us, but also extending out from us. So it's not just a shell.
You're not hiding.
The way you described it, it's we're able to extend out from it as well. I like that.
Yeah, I think when we think about protection, and there's times for this, we're going to open up that we talked last time about boundaries and bring in the spirituality and how boundaries, how is that connected to heart and how that evolves with us over time. And I think it could be very interesting to dive into this a little deeper. But yeah, you're right. Sometimes when we think about boundaries, depending on where we are in our life, the situations that are occurring, it does feel like a hard shell. And there are times, especially as children, and if you're not in a safe situation or weren't in a safe situation, you needed a hard shell, in my opinion, for that period of time. And once you're safe, the hard shell then can eventually, the protective hard shell, the hard boundary, does not, like you said, Wendy, I think you've said this before, doesn't have any kind of give. And then it holds everything inside.
Right.
So what you're protecting yourself from, now you're safe. Now you're just hitting that hard shell back and forth, back and forth,
Yeah.
back and forth. And now you're reliving the stories over and over
Yes.
again.
Yeah. You retell the same stories. You're looping in the same learning. You're still on the quest. You're trying to heal. You're trying to make these connections. You're trying to relive these stories so that you can understand it more. It feels like there's something I don't get. There's something I don't understand. I feel like I've done all this work and I feel like I'm not getting anywhere. And maybe the boundaries is something to consider. Maybe you've protected yourself so well that you are ready to be open, receptive to the outer world, but you've kind of forgotten how, or you're still in the mindset of protecting yourself.
Yeah.
So it's always interesting. I came across something recently. I always love learning and thinking about presence, and it was a suggestion that we think presence is sometimes being this state of almost absence where you're so present that you can't think or feel or sense or see or know anything. But it's almost the exact opposite. It's being so completely here that you are the most receptive that you could be.
Yeah.
And so
Most connected.
you are completely plugged in, dialed in. And if you have that boundary set up, then maybe you're even setting up subconsciously you're setting up a boundary around being receptive. You might be blocking the flow outward like you described in the meditation.
Yeah. Oh, I love that, because, and again, to acknowledge the fact that those hard boundaries were necessary. The meditation that we did is the type where you can still have that womb, that cocoon, that the safe place to be able to see out.
Yes.
That know that you feel protected in here in this womb, in this cocoon, you can begin to open your heart again. You begin to just have a safe place. And how that practically looks sometimes is what we consider in the psychological world is healthy boundaries with other people, other situations. And I think that is important. I think when you're cocooning, and especially if you're working through past traumas and different experiences like that, again, I would suggest you working obviously with someone to do that. Just to have that community and that safety with someone that you trust. But then when we're ready to do that, you have a right to retreat. You have a right to go within for a little bit. If you can then create the softening of the light cocoon versus the hard shell cocoon, then growth and movement, fluidity can happen, if that makes any sense. And I remember, I think Wendy, I may have sent this to you, or I don't know, or maybe you sent it to me, or when I was, and I guarantee you someone out there has seen this. It's somewhere out on Instagram somewhere. I believe, and I don't know, and I only saw it for a second, so I'm sorry for not giving this person the credit they deserve. But and if we can get more community, I'll see if I can post it at some point. But it was a man, I believe he may have been a psychologist. He definitely was in the spiritual world for sure as well. And he was helping his older father, letting him know it's okay to cry, because his older father had I would say a shell, a boundary that was a shell. And a lot of men, of course, did not grow up with the permission to tap into their divine feminine, their emotions. And so he was like, Dad, it's okay to cry. It's okay to cry. And he, eventually he cried and he cried. I'm sure there's a story around this beautiful man and his father, but he eventually cried. And it was hard and it was not pretty all the time and it hurt. And then, but he said, my father, and started noticing, and I started noticing, in the direct proportion he began to let go and cry was his direct proportion to experience joy. And we know Laura, we all talk about our our thing, and Laura's a big joy. That's joy is
Yes.
a big thing for Laura as well, and for all of us. But in direct proportion to what your boundary is, if it's hard and not malleable and
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't have opportunity to grow, is in direct proportion. You're also blocking the joy.
Right.
And so I thought it was really interesting. The more you allow yourself to feel, when you feel safe and ready, the more you will
Yes.
also experience joy. And sometimes that's coincided with purpose.
Yes.
So
I love that.
it's just really cool.
It is. We were talking before we went live about, and this is a question for people who are watching, is how do you know? How do you know when you're ready? How do you know when you're ready to let those boundaries down? How do you know? And for me personally, and for many people, but it's that self-love. It
Yeah.
is that recognition of the worthiness of yourself. And self-love can take a lot of work, a lot of effort, to get to the point where you do value yourself, not as more than somebody else, but just as worthy as everybody else, as the person next to you, as your own child, as your neighbor, your mother.
Right.
So reaching that level of self-love and worthiness, it kind of automatically hooks into those boundaries, and they become more permeable. They become more like filters
Yeah.
and less like a wall, because a filter would let something in but also let something out. And when you have that self-love, you have control over how much light. I always think of it like blinds, when you're twisting the
I like that.
blinds, and
Yeah.
sometimes you can let in a lot and sometimes you can lower it, but always a little light will still come in, and you'll be able to see out. It's just like a shear or something. So that self-love, and it kind of creates that permeability where you are less protecting of yourself and more you're accepting of yourself, and you feel safe, and you trust yourself. You trust yourself to have discernment over where you are, and your interactions with people, and you trust yourself to know that what your boundary is and how you interact with people is how to lovingly move yourself to where it's still love for you and for that
Right.
person. I
Right.
don't remember who said it, but that's another thing we're going to have to add to our little
Our to-do.
our to-do list. But somebody said that a boundary is the distance at which I can love myself and you simultaneously. And I just loved that, because the focus is still love. The focus is still, if the boundary needs to be there, but you can love yourself and you can love the other person, and only you get to decide what that boundary is and how it best functions for you.
Laura came out of her cocoon.
She did come out of her cocoon.
Ah,
Laura,
welcome back.
we were just talking about how sometimes
I've been
people
hearing
ask,
you. Yeah, I've been hearing you the whole time.
Okay.
okay, well then you are caught up. She's just metamorphosed, and she's come out of her cocoon now.
We're like, man, that was a strong cocoon.
That was.
But welcome back. Oh, she may not be back after all. We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to continue though.
Yes.
And we'll see where Laura is. I shouldn't have joked about the cocoon. I feel like I manifested that more for her. Oh, there she is. Well, when we talk about again, so what you were saying and what we're talking about, all three of us before, was the internal versus external. And when there are times for those hard boundaries. And then there's a time when you're, like you said, Wendy, when we're ready to, like, something's just not working. We're also not feeling a lot of joy. And sometimes that's a sign that we have a hard boundary that's not malleable and that's not growing and moving with us. And then that's where you bring in the cocoon, and you allow yourself to love yourself. You allow yourself to drop into your heart, to feel things again in a safe way where you know you're safe. And then that journey of boundaries shifts at that point too. Like it shifts, and many of you that are listening experience, or all over the board with this. I know I have been But as we begin to shift, and as in direct correlation to my own self-love, and when I say self-love, I don't mean perfection. I don't mean that at all. I mean loving my whole self, and that's my grumpy side sometimes too, when I'm hungry or hangry or or other things where there's other pain bodies that pop up. But in direct correlation to loving and accepting my whole self was in direct correlation to where then I began to really, the boundaries didn't need to be as strict and strong, because I created that whole synergy, that whole energy for myself. And then I can see other people exactly where they are, love them where they are. But I love myself so much that if someone tells me I'm worthless or implies something like that, I don't believe them.
Right.
And so there, and so it almost, and I almost don't attract it to myself either, because I know that's not true, and I know it's probably how they feel about themselves.
Right.
And so, it's a very interesting as we evolve and grow. And Laura, I'm curious what you are thinking and feeling down there as we invite you back into the conversation.
Thank you. No, it was definitely interesting from where we started in the beginning about boundaries and realizing that, yeah, when we don't know what's going on, why we're not feeling comfortable in here, there is the need to claim and state and set boundaries. And as you said, Laura, it's to create that safe space to allow ourselves to, evolve, to like, wait,
Right.
I can prioritize me. I can say no. I can choose to not spend time with that person in my life. And that clarity that as we grow in our own self-confidence, self-worth, self-respect, then those boundaries, like, they become non-existent because we don't need them anymore. And we had started in the beginning with one of my favorite expressions is good fences make good neighbors, because of that clear line. And yet realizing through this conversation that that boundary doesn't have to be there when you're clear within yourself. You're clear of, what you're willing to tolerate, what you're willing to allow in. And so it's just been today, a wonderful evolution of realizing the need when you're in a certain place that, like we talked about, I use sticky notes around my house when I'm creating a new habit, right? It's a tool. And that as I get more comfortable and that habit becomes routine, it just becomes who I am, part of my being, the way I live. The same thing with having to consciously establish boundaries. They just, as you evolve, it just becomes who you are. And that's.
I like that. I think it's interesting about sticky notes. I used to write with lipstick on mirrors. I probably did that as a teenager and stuck with it. But it's like, I feel like, and we all, the new thought, the soul love wisdom philosophy is like, you're reminding yourself of actually your truth. We get into the collective consciousness of fear, and we are taught, a lot of external worth. And this is where your worth is out here. And so when you're picking in sticky notes, or I'm writing with lipstick, I do that all the time. It's like, oh, I'm here to help myself. I want to be inundated with what the truth is, and I'm helping myself remember what the truth is. And years ago, when I was working in a high school with teenagers, in mindfulness and things like that, and if you really want to learn a lot, work with a bunch of teenagers, because they will reflect back your own stuff. They will tell you the truth. They will tell you if it feels like it's hypocritical, all those things. And so it was a great learning place for me. A lot of wisdom there and those kids. But when I started recognizing I probably mentioned this before. I had a lot of lessons that bombed because they're like, yeah, this just sounds too good to be true. But what I started realizing with this is like internally, when you love yourself, when you value yourself, again, not perfection, but when you love yourself and value yourself, you naturally, eventually, naturally, without thinking, do loving things for yourself and others. If you have self-hate inside of you for yourself, you will, without thinking, sometimes unconsciously do unkind things to yourself or to others, or both. And so it's the thing about when we talk about it's all love, when we talk about it's all about self-worth and love, like we will repeat this, I know, every single podcast to convince you, the listeners, that this, you are worthy, you are valuable, you can love yourself. It is in there and it's worth going there and being willing to do so. And will you need to cocoon yourself at times? Absolutely.
Mm.
You need to, you should, but
Yeah.
we want to make it to where you can grow within that and talk about what all these ladies have been saying the whole time. What if we do this? What if we do a quick little commercial and then we come back? What I would be curious, and this can go in any direction, y'all may have, y'all, little southern drawl there, you
Oh,
all may
bless.
have, you all may have other thoughts, but the one thing I was thinking about when Laura and Wendy were talking was, as I have grown in my own consciousness journey, it hasn't always been pretty. And there are times within, like, I feel like a lot of these things came to my clarity years ago when I was like, when I began to love myself. And then when I would hit another growth spot, I would find myself needing to cocoon again.
Mm.
So let's talk about, as we go on the spiritual journey, the awakening journey, the self-love journey, what that can look like and how that can possibly feel and normalize some things here. So, cool?
Yes.
Okay. We'll be right back. Come back and hang with us in just a few moments.
On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network. Come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace and blessings. On behalf of...
Sorry, my mouse is just very sensitive today. So welcome back, everybody. What we're talking about are boundaries, the spiritual journey, self-love, healthy boundaries, how they grow with you as you evolve. So I'm curious about the two of you getting maybe a little more personal if you want to. Is like, I mean, what has the journey been like for you as you have gone on the self-love journey and then, you know, having a moment where you feel like, some people will say, I'm kind of feel like I'm going backwards a little bit. You know, I feel like I'm having to protect myself again, or, you know, those types of things. Have you all experienced that at all? Wendy's nodding, so we're going to start with Wendy.
Probably last week even.
Yeah.
It's when you do, you get to a certain point where you don't think of it as sliding backwards. You always hear that kind of expression of 2 steps forward and 1 step backwards, and it's all forward. It really is. It's all forward. You're always going down that path. You're always going through your journey and leading through to wisdom, and getting to the point where you love and trust yourself enough to handle the bumps in the road and and go along the way, and love yourself enough to know, okay, this one's a big one, and I might need to take a step back and maybe rethink something, maybe reevaluate something, maybe take care of myself in a different way. Maybe I've been pushing myself, and just examine what that is and listen to your intuition, listen to your wisdom, ask your body questions. If your brain doesn't know, because your brain's going to work when you take those steps, what you think are steps back, your brain's going to work really hard to try and figure out what went wrong, what do I do now, what do I do next. And so that's always the invitation. Okay, if I'm in my head, I'm not in my heart anymore, and I'm not listening. I'm probably not listening to the self-love voice. I'm listening to the mechanism that has experienced everything and that wants to keep me safe. It doesn't want me to get hurt. It wants me to stay nice and protected. And this guy's probably the one who's putting the boundaries back up. And so I'm going to drop back in, and I'm going to maybe ask some what look like silly questions at first, but I might journal. I might ask, I might ask body, what would you have me know today? Or pain, what would you have me know today? Or car breaking down, what would you have me know today? And if you start engaging with the consciousness of these things, you are more likely to hear that wisdom that story has for you, instead of this story, which is the looping one, which says, oh, we've been down here before, it's probably because you always do this. It's like, well, no, we don't always do that. So when you ask those questions, why is this, why did my car break down again? And maybe it's because the water pump was leaking, but maybe it's because you were pushing yourself. And there's a little bit of energetic wisdom that you can glean from that, because it's probably not just the card. Maybe there's other things going on that you have to stay in one spot, and you engage with the consciousness of what's happening. And it's asking you to stay home and rest and listen and get curious about what's in front of you, what's being asked to be faced right now, what's being asked to be looked at, and ask it questions, because the things that are happening do have wisdom for you. So if you can remove yourself from it and just ask the thing that's happening, what would you have me know today? And it can probably give you an answer better than sitting there and trying to think about what you've quote unquote done wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say,
Yeah.
Wendy, I love how you take a broken water pump in a car and use that as a message for yourself, right? That's pretty powerful. And as we had shared once before, when we can live into the knowing that everything is for me, everything is serving my awakening, my awareness, my evolution, whatever word you want to put on there, everything is for me. Then
the universe is for you.
Then even the broken car has a message. And discernment, not judgment. How is this supporting? What is the message? What's the insight? And the insight might be, oh, we didn't take it in for its 125,000 mile checkup, right? Okay, and who knows? The answer is different for each individual,
right?
And what I love on this journey is that was really hard for me to take. That statement, how is this serving me? How is this for me when this feels awful? I just got let go of my job with no notice, and I was loving it, and it was the perfect job, and right in that moment. And yet, as you said, Wendy, when we can get out of the head, because the head's trying to do the why and the how come, and dropping into the heart, like, okay, if this is love expressing for me, what are the gifts? What are the opportunities? What's the message? Whatever the question is. And bringing it back to boundaries is, wow, how is this just a divine expression of love for myself?
Right.
And like that's huge. That's like, wow, this is a divine expression of love for me. Like that statement alone is just
Right.
mind expanding.
It's a game changer. It's a game changer. And yeah, I think it was Oprah that used to say that all the time back when I was younger, and she had her show, and she was like, this is, the universe is a yes universe. How is this serving me? And I do think when it's really painful, but what Laura was even talking about earlier is like, when we're not, sometimes when we're in crisis, that's when big awakenings come.
Mm-hmm.
When we're not in crisis, when we're not in the middle of a crisis, it's when we begin to be like, okay, how can I go inside and strengthen and learn to trust me? How can I go in and find my worth and value in here and begin to trust this? So when the big thing may occur, you can eventually, maybe not that second. It's like,
Right.
what are you talking about? Car or job or whatever, but
Yes.
maybe eventually, if you allow yourself to feel it, and then you have practiced and you've been around other people, not from shame and guilt and self-judgment, just curiosity. Okay, I surrender. I know this is for me somehow.
Right.
Show me the way. And I think probably this year, I think I've cried so much this year. and I say that like truly, like in a light, vulnerable, happy way.
Right.
But I have. But oh my gosh, the foundation inside of me, even though it was like a lot, I knew I was going to be okay no matter what. I didn't know how, and I didn't know what it was going to be, but I had all the practice of trusting myself started to comes into play. And I think if you are a practitioner or in the healing arts, I have practitioners say to me, I know I've said it before, like, I know better. Or why do I have this emotion first? Or why?
Yeah.
And so that's why I was saying, like, as we are growing on the journey, whether you're a practitioner or you're just on your own, you are your own practitioner always, right? But it's the process of being gentle with yourself, finding other people that will help you do that. And usually when a big something happens and wakes you up, it means you're getting ready to jump in consciousness. It actually does, because your ego is getting rid of something that you don't need with on your journey. I don't know how many mentors of mine have told me that. I'm in the midst of it.
Yes.
And it's not fun. I'm
No,
not
we don't have to
always
like
fun.
It's
But
it's
it's
not
true.
fun. You don't learn from the fun. You're too busy having fun. Yeah. Whenever I'm writing and start channeling, when the channeling writing comes through, it always calls it the big awful. Uppercase T, uppercase B, uppercase A. It calls it the big awful, and it doesn't delineate how, whether it's the car breaking down or some childhood trauma. It's if you feel it and it sucks.
It's hurting.
It's hurting, and it's okay. It's okay to hurt, and it's okay to vent, and it's okay to cry, and it's okay to swear, kick the ground, do whatever you need to do to move that emotion. But the emotion is our human key. It's our human key. I'm feeling something. And when you feel something, then ask it questions. If I'm really upset about this, and so feel it, and then ask it. What's here for me? What's here for me? I'm upset about this. And then instead of just trying to stuff it down, oh, I should know better, I should do this, or I should be able to handle this better. You don't know. You've been given the gift of emotions, and you don't have to handle them. You have to feel them. And then once you felt them, then you're in a better space to ask for the guidance, ask for the wisdom. Don't ask it when you're too busy stuffing it down, because then your head's going to answer.
That is so good. Can you repeat that?
if you haven't felt it and you ask the question, your head's going to answer because your heart's blocked. You put a boundary around yourself. You put a boundary around your heart. So if I was going to ask, and this is happening right now, my car, it decided it was going to not function as well as it could, and it decided it was going to cost, so many zeros to get fixed. And the part of me that does not want to pay that much money for something, the part of me that's struggling maybe financially or in these other ways, that's the head part. And so if I just stuffed it down and okay, what am I going to do about this? Okay, maybe I can get a job doing this. Maybe I can start doing that. And I'm in the head about it. But if I can vent and be upset about it and then ask it, and it's actually telling me that I'm asked to stay home and finish fixing up your art studio and start putting some classes out there. You don't need to have the car right now to go do a job
Distract
working
yourself.
something else, when we've been telling you over and over again the things that we want you to do is things that fulfill both you and can be of service to somebody else. And if you're in your car driving, to go to Harris Teeter, the grocery store, or any other place, then you're not in your presence. So
I love that. We all need to hear that, no matter where we are. I think I go back to a little bit, you were talking about putting a wall around your heart. And again, recognizing, validating, there's reasons for that. And there are times where you need to. Exactly. No one here is acting like that's not important. Sometimes that is necessary. And especially if you were a child too, or an abusive situation, whatever it may be, you got to go back to that kid and give that kid like a lot of love, because that kid got you here, and that was the way you were going to survive. That was the way you're going to get through.
That kid never felt safe to express how they felt.
No. So now,
feel it.
So now, yeah. And so now sometimes that's where, when you get to a certain place in consciousness and you have recognized that you can trust yourself, and that there is that, sometimes way down the spiritual path or the awakening path or the consciousness is when some of the big stuff does come up, because now you're in a place, even though, gosh, it still doesn't feel good, you're now in a place to where you can feel, release that heart to open back up. And then again, remember, we're talking about the very beginning of the video with the man and his father, who I know people have seen that video, of where he said, "Dad, cry, cry." And to the direct proportion of when he let go of some pain and felt it was in direct proportion of him experiencing joy. And so that is what I'm talking about. That's what we're all talking about. Because a lot of people say, well, what's the key? Like, I feel like I'm here, or I can't get here, or what's the key? And the key is cocooning yourself. Cocooning is different than walling up. Cocooning, and remember, the cocoon comes from in here, not external. As another mentor did a really great job of teaching me that one time, because I would be like, I'm going to pull a light all around me, and she's like, go in here. The light's in here, girl. Go in here. Pull it from there. And I was like, okay. But if you're very empathic and highly sensitive, you're going to feel that. You're going to feel that being pulled out around you. And cocoon. And then now let's see where that heart can safely begin to feel.
Yeah. And then you can be in charge of what you allow, how permeable your cocoon is. And maybe you need to be alone in it for a little bit. But when you're ready to start voicing it in some way, maybe you're going to ask a therapist, maybe you're going to ask a friend, maybe you're going to seek a mentor, maybe you're going to just listen to a podcast. You can search through podcasts, including this one, but you can search through podcasts, and maybe there's a topic related to what you're going through, and just listening to somebody else experiencing something that you did. You're not alone in that cocoon anymore. And you've got a little connection, you've got a little heart thread. You can stay safe. You don't have to leave, but maybe reaching out, and even just audiobooks or just listening to somebody else's experience makes you less alone within there, and maybe how they learn to cope can give you some clues as to what might work for you when you're feeling really lost.
Yeah.
I want to go back to what you said, Laura, about the when we do something and we say, why did I just do that? Or I should know better. That when we're evolving, it's our ego, which is there, as Wendy had said, it's our part of our brain designed to keep us safe. And these patterns, these habits were laid down when we were young, and they're tracks that we have been playing over and over and over. So it's strong and powerful. And when we start to, wait, that's not the truth of me anymore, and we're behaving differently, even when the pattern comes up and we stop it. I love it that you said that, Laura, that sometimes it's louder and bigger and like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Right? Because the ego is fearing for its life. And it's, I've heard the term extinction behavior. And it's like, yeah, we're not listening to that voice in our head, the judge that's so rude and trying to keep us safe, but she's not nice about it. And so it's trying to be louder. But when we can pause, I just love the expression, the power of the pause. Just say, wait a second. Just wait a second to that voice. That, you know what? That's not very nice. Like, I don't want to listen to that. Or, you know what? I think there's more here. And then the pause is then, taking a breath, dropping into your heart and going from knowledge into wisdom. And wisdom coming from love to say, okay, just take a breath. Calm down. This thing happened. None of my cameras wanted to work.
I wonder if you were going to bring that up.
I was like, it's no judgment about me. It just is. What can I do? Well, I have another camera over there. I have another. I put 2 other cameras in, and it's like, all right, the port isn't working. So I'm using my not so great camera on my laptop, and guess what? I got to still participate. I could have dropped off completely and been like, oh, they're fine, which that would have been an option too, right? But from a place of non-stress, not freak out, not judgment, it's like, okay, I don't know what the message is here for me other than it's an opportunity to practice what we're talking about.
Yeah, just a lesser version of it. Yeah. And like a lesser traumatic version of it. Yeah.
It didn't have to be a trauma thing. I'm going to drop it in my heart, see if I can get a camera to work. And I do or I don't, but either way, it's okay.
Yeah. Is there a version of Laura that a certain number of years ago that would have frazzled you a lot more now that you're here? So say Laura from 5 years ago or 10 years ago, the camera stopped working and you knew that you were live on air.
Totally. Yeah. Totally freak out, angry, throwing the camera on the ground. What am I going to do? You're like the tension in my body, was like palpable with something like this happening, instead of like, okay.
Yeah. Big sigh.
What can I do? What can I do? Yeah. Big sigh. Yeah. Okay. What can I do? So yeah.
I'm so glad you said that. That reminded me. I'm so glad you said that, because again, that really strong shell boundary, again, that can be appropriate at times until you don't need it anymore. Then it hurts. It actually is preventing other things, other joy. It also creates within the body a frozen state of fight, flight, freeze. And so it's the constant, it's like, it's anxiety, it is the constant, whatever. And so that's one thing that, again, being willing, Byron Katie always talked about, like just saying to yourself, I think Eckhart Tolle says this too, just say, I'm willing to let that shell soften. I'm willing to let it soften, to be able to take a breath and take a pause and feel, allow myself to feel. The other thing I want to point out was just really great. Like, it was an aha for me when someone said this to me many years ago, but I had been on the spiritual journey. I was doing spiritual counseling, and it's interesting. I have no idea. I don't remember what I had done. And I may have said this before, but I just think it's such good advice. I'm going to repeat it again, just in case. And I don't remember what I was upset with myself about, but I know, and I had a very strong habit of saying, I know better. And that's the ego. And that the little child in me too, that feels like I'm doing a good service for myself. I'm reflecting. That was my way of saying, I'm reflecting. I know better. I know better. I'm reflecting. I'm trying to look at this situation, and I but it's a little bit of it's a trick, really. Not meaning like, but it is. It's a little bit of an ego trick. And this beautiful mentor soul stopped, and he was like, who's talking? And he knew my foundation at that point in my life was whatever you call God, source, universe. He was using the God, but he knew we were on the same page when it came to consciousness and energy. And he's like, is that God talking or divine talking? And I was like, no, because divine source is love. And he was like, then why are you listening to it? And I was like,
Boom.
And I mean, it shifted everything for me in that moment. I was like, oh, I didn't even realize I was manipulating or tricking myself with that statement. I really did think it was a good thing to say to self. I just had, and then he was like, what? So we can reflect. I learned that, yes, we can reflect and look ourselves in the mirror. When we love ourselves, we can really look ourselves in the mirror. It's like, okay, I see that. But it doesn't have to come with the shoulds or the shame. That's not God. That's not source. That's not love talking. That's not helping. So I don't know. I'm hoping that it just was a huge life altering thing for me. Who is that talking? So when Laura was talking about that voice, and it could be it was definitely my voice talking.
Right.
But, and I didn't hate her for that, but I was like, oh, she's been gaslighting herself this whole time. I thought it was a good thing. It really did.
Right.
And it really wasn't. It really wasn't.
Right.
And I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for that. But anyway, we are coming close to the end. So what if we have some last thoughts here, and then Laura, you can kind of close out with our new email and different things like that. And then I'll do the rest. And Wendy, I just want to cue you up a little bit. You wrote something down right before we started based on we really should have a pre-recording conversation.
No.
We have really good, juicy conversations before we get on here too. But would you mind sharing that? And then Laura, final thoughts for you too, and all the other stuff. And then we'll see you next time.
Yeah,
okay.
I was just making a bunch of notes that when you're thinking about how things feel versus how you know them, they're very different things. And so sometimes even just asking, okay, well, how do I know if it's my ego talking? How do I know if it's my inner voice or my heart, or if it's God talking?
Discernment. Yeah.
So if you are in presence, it can feel like aliveness, not an absence of feeling anything, but it's not passive. It's actually the most awake state that you can feel. So if you think of presence as a frequency, it's like the one where all the stations are tuned in, and the reception is clear. The station's coming in really clear. And then truth, the way truth vibrates then when you are in presence, the way truth vibrates, it's a living frequency because it's aligned. And that's how you can feel it. It's not in your head. It's not the voice telling you. But that truth is, because truth is living, and this is what I was writing down, that truth is alive and it can change the way sunlight changes from moment to moment. Not in that, not in that it's changing as far as whether something's true or untrue, but it comes with you, always connected to source, like sunlight. So when you arrive at truth, it's always coming from like sunlight to a plant. It might be foggy sometimes, but it's always coming through. I need to dig more into that.
Well, but the way it connects, there's so many ways it connects, but it goes back to that voice. It goes back to when we're not loving ourselves, if we protect ourselves so much, we may not feel the sunlight in that moment. We are lost in the darkness, but there's sunlight that's always there. And if we're willing to bring the light from within, and cocoon in that way, then we can begin to become really present.
Right.
And then the divine truth of who you are, and you will just naturally love yourself. So anyway, there's a lot there, but yeah.
There is.
Well, I was going to say, when you're saying about truth feels good. That's what I know. Truth feels good. The angst is gone. Like when making a decision, I can feel uncomfortable or I'm not sure, and like, am I making the right decision? But when I know that I'm in my heart coming from love, truth feels right. It just feels good.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. So yeah, just to wrap up, and then I am going to pass it over to you, Laura, to talk about the Star School, because I don't do that very well. But yeah, from this whole conversation, again, having to bring it back to what we're about. It's all love. When anything is going on, as soon as you can notice, pause, drop into your heart, and come from love, come from that knowing that, okay, all is well somehow, somewhere. There's a pony in here somewhere. In the pile of manure, there has to be a pony, but regardless,
oh my gosh, I'm going to use that. Okay.
Regardless if it's a broken down car, right? Or I cut my ankle after I just said I'm going to take this month off to rest, and our subconscious said, yeah, but you're not gonna, so I'm gonna make you. That's another story of a friend of mine. But whatever it is pausing, dropping into the heart, and coming from that space. Then the right answers show up, and you know they're right because they feel right. So it all comes back to love. Whatever is going on, pause, take a breath, let it go, drop into your heart. So yes, I'll talk about myself, then you, and then I'll
yeah,
so
we got you.
I'm Laura Brzezinski. I have a coaching business, Radiant Joy Coaching, where I love inviting women to learn to connect with themselves, love themselves, claim their voice, own their worth, and stand in their power, coming from love and creating the life that they love living because they're coming from here. So if you want to learn more, reach out at info@radiantjoycoaching.com. Laura did put up, we have a new email for It's All Love. If you want to connect with any one of us, if you want to learn more about what we're about, our communities, send us an email. And then Laura, passing it over to you to talk about, you do it better than I do.
We'll do it quick, but with the email too, if you have questions or thoughts or things that you want to, like, oh, what do y'all think about this? Or, do it. Like we would love to serve you because we know what's working for us and what we connect with, but we're here as a community. That's what we're here to do. And then we just have the Stara, which is this inner school, wisdom inner school. There we are. It's all good. And we can talk about that more later, but we have a little website and you can go and just check it out. It's a community. It's just a place for us to have even more conversations and connect, sometimes virtually. If you're in the Charlotte area, we do some things in person, but again, it's just a community of people that are loving each other and supporting each other on their spiritual journey. Yeah. So otherwise, we will see you. Yes, Laura,
Last thing.
you got it.
Yep. Thank you for joining us here on New Thought Media Network, where we are a global broadcast network full of lots of spiritual teachers, wisdom, opportunities for you to be supported. So go check us out at ntmedia.org. And we always like to say, if there's anything going on in our programs that are serving and supporting you, we welcome your financial gratitude as well. ntmedia.org/donate. So yes, with that,
We'll
say
see
see you next week. Thanks so much for being here.
Bye, everybody.